Hey, Cleveland, this is Tristan Thompson of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you're listening to Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, do you tweet? So do we. So tweet with us 24/7 at the Sports Fix CLE.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix at AOL.com. That's thesportsfix at AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
There we go, baby. Off and running. Another edition of the Sports Fix here underway. Hump Day edition of the Sports Fix. Wednesday, midweek, and we're going to do the thing here. You know, I'll tell you guys what, man. I'm not even going to bore you with the details, but let me just tell you that some days I think we're not meant to do this, and things just go haywire moments before we go live on the air, and that, I think, is the fun of the high wire act that is live radio, live TV, all of that stuff that I involve myself in. I think I like that, but I don't like it while it's going on. This morning was right before the show. Ugh, unreal. But unreal. I mean, a lot of things going on that we're going to talk about today that are unreal. Indians, I mean, stuff that's going. I mean, they're playing a baseball game in an empty stadium somewhere today, and I'm not even talking about all kinds of things to get into, you guys. We've got a lot to do. We've got Dan Wismar joining us today. I've got some time early to open up the phone lines, which we're going to do here, and so much more. So I say we get rolling. Let's crack the bottle open. Pop the top on this edition of the Sports Fix. Welcome in, you guys. I am your host, the Big Daddy on the microphone, J-Rocc, Jerry Myers. Call me what you will. Those cats in the chat room call me the coordinator of the madness, and I'm here and call me happy each and every weekday. Corny as can be to say that, but it's true to have you guys here with me live across the Sports Fix radio network, noon, Monday through Friday. Maybe you're listening on TuneIn, TuneIn's radio app worldwide, on Spreaker, Mixler, their respective digital and mobile apps. Maybe you listen to the show live right on our home base, thesportsfix.net. However you're doing it, of course, you're doing it live, and that's the best way to do it. But hey, no disrespect to the thousands. Shout out to you guys around the world enjoying the show in your leisure time, all hours of the day or night, on sites like iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, on iTunes and Stitcher Radio and SoundCloud and CarPlay and all of the different places that you guys do the thing, podcast, subscribe, download, feed, whatever it is that you do. I'm glad you do it. Thank you guys so much, and be a part of the show. As I said here today, early on, I'm going to get a chance to crack some phone lines open and talk to some of you guys as well. 216-539-7535 is the number to call. 216-539-7535. When you get to the phones and you can't get through, or perhaps we've got somebody on, Dan Wismar here coming on in a bit, leave a message anytime, day or night. We'll leave it. We'll play it on the next, you leave it. We'll play it on the next show here, getting started with a bang right away. We'll play it on the very next opportunity live. So 216-539-7535 is the number to call anytime, day or night. Can't get to the phone, using the phone perhaps to listen to the show on your device, hit us up, Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. Email the Sports Fix at AOL.com. Facebook.com/the Sports Fix. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. Email us the Sports Fix at AOL.com. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan and EverybodyHatesCleveland.com. Going to join us here. Matter of fact, speaking of EverybodyHatesCleveland.com, really starting to, we're going to expand some things, man. We're going to do some different things together, and I'm looking forward to watching things continue to grow there. I love pairing up with sites like that, like didthetribewinlastnight.com. Some of the things that we do over the course of things to help, it's just mutually beneficial, and I think it's going to be a good thing. I'm looking forward to that, as you see on our social media. If you follow us, by the way, thank you guys for doing that. We feed all of the Everybody Hates Cleveland stuff through there now, and you'll be reading a lot of their stuff just as we do with many of the other people that we work with. So make sure you check it out and go bookmark them as well. But Dan Wismar is going to be with us. He writes for them. We're going to talk all kinds of things here today with Dan. Of course, since we last talked on Monday with him, the Cavaliers, found out the latest news with Kevin Love. We'll talk about that. The Indians. We're going to talk Tribe here in a little bit, but I'm kind of stalling that off a minute because it's nothing. There's nothing good. Just when you thought it was safe to go back, just when you thought it was like, okay, maybe this thing's turned, there we go. There, get it, Moss comes loose, and you're like, man, they did. We were just talking about this yesterday, Jeff Gorman, and just talking about even when the Indians get it going, when they put it together, when they get the lead, every time it seems, right away, the very next inning, boom, the knockback inning from the other team, and it knocks the thing off kilter. And then there you go. And there it happened again. 6-run inning. What in the world was that? We'll get into it in a minute here. And, of course, when Dan joins us, we're going to talk about that tomorrow on the eve of the NFL draft here. We'll talk that with Dan Wismar, and not just talk about it from the Browns' perspective, but Buckeyes in the draft. Curious to see who he thinks will be the first Buckeye to come off the board, where he thinks they'll go. We'll talk to Dan Wismar about all of that stuff here. But as we get things going, I was kind of hinting to it a little bit here live. It'll be just a few hours from now. If you guys are listening on digital delay, then it'll be different. But the White Sox and the Baltimore Orioles, looking around some of the news of the day here, what a unique, surreal as it is, all the things everybody knows what's going on in Baltimore, and we've talked about that. And of course, again, prayers and concerns to everything around there. It's just, such a bad situation all the way around. We've just got to continue to work through all the problems that we have in this world. And it's easy to say. I'm not trying to be, the happy hippie over here. It's easy to say love everybody and love and peace, but, working it out is different. But we know all the things going on with the rioting, with everything, the curfew. So they've had to postpone every game of the series between the Sox and the Baltimore Orioles so far, and they couldn't, baseball schedule-wise, was having a hard time figuring out how to wipe out the entire series. Dan Duquette said it would have been almost impossible to make up all 3 games over the course of the rest of the season. So what a unique, middle ground they reached. They're playing this game in Baltimore with no fans allowed in the building. That's got to be, and listen, I was joking earlier, I'm not even talking about Progressive Field at 6:00 on a Wednesday night, which you may see tonight. That's jokingly an empty stadium, but man, that's quite a unique environment for the players to be in. As it's never happened. Well, it's never happened in this instance before. Games have been moved, but never before has a game been played with no fans in the building. Quite an interesting, but they had to. They're already going to have to make up the other games with a doubleheader coming up. And basically Baltimore, the city of Baltimore, all the officials, they could not afford the resources to be deployed that would go with that as well. And you can understand that. It's just quite a unique atmosphere. That's one, if you're a player, that you'll talk about remembering forever, and that'll be an interesting thing. But man, what else were they going to do? Like you said, what else were they going to do? Because there's unique circumstances. There's been other times that games have been moved, but not. Matter of fact, I saw, doing my research, I went to check on that, and the official historian for Major League Baseball said, as far as he knew, all the way back, there had been minor league instances where this had happened before, but never a Major League Baseball game where no fans were were allowed into the building. That's interesting there. The lowest recorded attendance for a Major League Baseball game was 6 paid attendees for a game in 1882, according to Major League Baseball's records. Of course, back in 92, they moved games from the L.A., Rodney King riots that were going on there. Also, Detroit riots back in the 60s caused some games to be moved, coincidentally, also involving the Baltimore Orioles. But man, again, what a unique atmosphere. I mean, I'm sure any player on either the Sox or the Orioles can say they've never played in anything like that before, and that's what's going to go down here this afternoon in Baltimore. Guys, I'll tell you what, looking around too, and I know I'm going to get into talking about the Indians here, but a couple of things. NBA playoffs, even though the Cavs have the rest of this week off as they wait to find out who they're going to face in the next round of the playoffs, and we'll get another step closer to that here coming up tomorrow. But the NBA playoffs last night, how about the Spurs? I'm just going to throw that out there real quick. We talk about them all the time here on the show, and as you guys know, everybody writes them off, and I'm like, no, sir. Think about the beginning of this series 5 games ago. Think about the beginning of this series and how it started, and it looked so much slanted one way. I remember you guys, we were talking, people were calling the Spurs old. They were done. Father Time had caught up to them again, and they've now taken control of this series. They've got a 3-2 lead. Based on that victory last night, they held their poise down the stretch, and the Clippers lost theirs. And yeah, man, the refs were pretty clown show last night for sure. But they held their ground, and now they've got the chance to win this thing at the house. They've got the chance to win this in San Antonio, and they've got 2 chances to win 1 game. And I'm telling you, if I'm betting on Pop and Duncan and these guys, you give them 2 chances to win 1 game, I think they're going to do it. It will take a Herculean effort at this point for the Clippers to win, and that's going to be quite disappointing there with another first-round exit for them. Of course, they've got to get it done first. I'm not going to write it off because stranger things have happened, but man, the Spurs have now really grabbed control of that series. And now they're going to look to take it home. And tell you what, last night, too, for those of you guys on Twitter, I don't know if you saw it, but it's blown up all over social media now. I don't know what intern or what college student or who it was that was manning the Houston Rockets Twitter account last night. But near the end of the game, the elimination there for the Dallas Mavericks, somebody from the official Houston Rockets account tweeted out a photograph with the little... what are those? The emojis, whatever they're called. Those little symbols. Anyways, a horse's head and a pistol. And it just said, shh, close your eyes. It will all be over soon. And anyways, it was definitely tasteless little. It happened during the game. The game had not even ended. So the Dallas Mavericks replied on Twitter, said, not very classy, but we still wish you guys the best of luck in the next round. And then, of course, after the big furor blew up, 33 minutes later, the Houston Rockets replied, our tweet was in very poor taste and not indicative of the respect that we have for Dallas and their fans. We sincerely apologize. But, sports teams, don't let the interns run your Twitter account because stuff like that happens. Because I'm just curious whose horse's head is going to wind up in the mattress for that one. Somebody's got to take the fall for that one there. But seriously, you wonder if it was somebody, because they all do. The social media interns, there's a lot of young, that's an entry-level type thing there and a lot of things. Although to me, I wouldn't trust the keys to my social media to a young anything. I'm making sure. I mean, yeah, youth-wise to know how to hit the right demographic. But what I mean is I'm going to make sure somebody's got their head on straight so that things like this don't come out. Some of the things that come from the official Twitter accounts of teams make me laugh. I mean, players, you can't, hey, you're allowed to say what you want. It's a free world. That's the great thing about the world we live in. But I do laugh at some of the bad or misguided or just poor taste tweets that come from the actual teams. We've seen it before. Some of them like this, lighthearted attempts at humor that went very bad in poor taste. Some of them like the Ravens sticking up for Ray Rice on their official Twitter, just way more than just poor taste. Just ugh. Anyways, but I always laugh at that and I go, man, who runs these teams' Twitter accounts? I think about the stuff I send out, and these are official Twitter, whatever accounts for. Anyways, who cares? Who am I preaching to? But anyways, that's what was going down last night. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers sit. They try to heal up. Kevin Love not going to be a part of it. I'm going to go to the phone lines here before I get in. I've got callers calling in. Before I get into the Indians, before we pick up from last night's game, I'm going to pick up with you guys and go to the phones. Caller, you're first up on the Fix.
Hi, Jerry. How are you? It's Betty.
Hello. Hey, Betty. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm gonna go back to what you said about the Spurs. I never gave them a doubt. I knew they were going to pick it up and move on. So letting everybody else think they didn't have it in them. Yeah, right from the get-go. If you ever look at my predictions on Facebook, they're going to make it to the finals. I keep saying this. What's up?
I'll tell you, I'm with you. I mean, Houston's going to be there's still a lot of Golden State. There's a lot of tough teams that'll still have to fight over there. Oh. But I mean, that first game. I mean, here's the thing: is it did look like that after the first game because it always looks like that with the Spurs. They always start off the playoffs looking like this is the year that they're done, that they're the old man, and that finally that young buck is going to come and knock them off. And the Clippers said, we're going to do it this year. And everybody jumped on that last week and said, oh, boy, Spurs are done. Clippers aren't playing this year, and look what happened very quickly. And again, the series is not over. Hey, I would have mad respect for the Clippers if they come back and win those last two games because they can. You know, they can definitely still win that series. They showed that they can play with them, but they lost their composure down the stretch yesterday, and I think that may have done them in for the series. I mean, this thing's going back to San Antonio, and I think Houston or San Antonio knows they're going to end this thing in Game 6. They need to.
I agree. And speaking of the Bucks, what about that Chicago game? I mean, I'm surprised the Bucks. I know the Bucks are young, and I love Jason Kidd. He's one of my favorite players. He's like one of my favorite coaches. But, geez, I didn't think they'd get this far. I was hoping by now the Bulls would have won, hopefully. And they'd be moving on to the round with the Cavaliers. But it may not be like that. It may be the Bucks. I'm still rooting on the Bulls.
I hear you. I do think Chicago is still going to win this thing, but the Bucks definitely put more of a fight into them. And here's the thing: is I love Jason Kidd too. By the way, that was one. LeBron won. I thought I wanted him to come here and play with the Cavs. I thought that would have been great. But anyways, I think he's a great coach and he's done a good job. I thought they shook up their roster a bit and maybe lost some of the chemistry because they really stumbled towards the finish, and so I thought maybe that they made some progress, but that was going to be as far as it went, and especially the way that series started. But as I said, they realistically, they got the shot at the end of the game there, but they were up double digits in that game, and the game before that they lost in double overtime. That series could be 3-2 the other way. So give credit to Jason Kidd for what those guys have done. I still think Chicago is going to take the series. But, man, those Bucks put in a fight. I will give them that.
Well, I would like it because we're already in the next series and waiting. With or without Kevin Love, I like Kevin Love. He's great. Chemistry is decent with him. But I think LeBron and Irving can carry the series.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I hear you. They are definitely two guys that you're glad to have when you're shorthanded. But, I mean, there's a reason that the Cavaliers went and got a third guy for a reason, because you can stop two. You can. It doesn't matter how great they are. And Chicago, I'm telling you, and again, this is presumptive because we don't know that if it's not going to be the Bucks. But if it's Chicago, I mean, they're an excellent defensive team. So, I mean, they will know how to take things away. It's going to take a third person to come up for the Cavaliers to beat Chicago in the next round. They can do it. And it doesn't have to be the same third person every night, but it's going to have to be a third person. It's really going to have to be more than that. I mean, it's going to truly be a team effort. And I'll tell you one thing, Betty, and this, I've seen a lot of people starting to say this now, and it's so true. I think one of the good things that comes out of I guess if you're looking for a silver lining, one of the good things that comes out of losing Kevin Love is that the Cavs have now switched. They went from being, and David Griffin said this so much the other day at the press conference, he said from the hunted to the hunter, and he's got a point, because now they I'm not going to say that any LeBron team in 2015 is a sentiment. People don't really get behind him like that anymore. But the Cavs are not the big team that everybody wants to see knocked off. They're vulnerable. Matter of fact, some people are already writing them off down the stretch as far as winning a championship. So it's maybe a more comfortable position because now that pressure's off. I'm thinking particularly on Kyrie Irving, on all these guys that have never been in the playoffs before. You're almost back in the position you were in before you traded for Kevin Love. Remember when LeBron came here, it was LeBron, Kyrie, and this group of players that were going to, build this team that was going to be contenders in year number one, and maybe they could run the whole thing, but either way, it was about more than year one, and it almost feels like now people feel that way again, at least that's the way I see it, and I think the Cavaliers can still win the East without Kevin Love. I do think that may now change the dynamic when you talk about facing whoever comes out of the West, but I feel like we're back where we were before they traded for Kevin Love, and I feel it's a better situation for the Cavs' untested players because now they don't have the weight of being the favorites. They're almost a little more of an underdog.
Okay, I can disagree with that.
I don't know. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. I mean, it's a lot harder to root against the Cavs when they're shorthanded, even on the national level, I mean, so I'm not saying people will be rooting for them, but it kind of takes that edge off. And again, it also takes those expectations off because now people are now looking for who's going to knock off the Cavs instead of, oh man, these Cavs are unstoppable. And that makes a difference. That makes a difference mentally too, especially for guys not named LeBron who have never been to the playoffs before.
Well, yeah, and we don't know who we're going to play. So if it is Chicago, it'll go full 7 rounds because Chicago will, like you said, Chicago's an excellent defensive team.
Absolutely.
So that team worries me, but that's why I want to go.
Yeah, and they're big. They're going to beat us up a little bit for sure. But again, that's presumptive because the Bucks aren't going anywhere yet, and Game 6 is in Milwaukee. So they've got a shot to take it to a 7th game at your home, and that's all you can ask for.
Right, and they made the best team win out of there. I mean, they're both great. They wouldn't be in this position. But whoever they play, I'll say this. Whoever they play, it's not going to be a sweep for the Cavs. Because those young players on the Bucks, whew. I mean, when they kicked up and I saw Jason Kidd, I got all excited myself there, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, second to Cavaliers. But, wow, what are you playing the other day? And then Sunday, I didn't like Boston. I didn't like how Boston and the Cavaliers played the other day, but that's a whole different issue. We know you've all talked about this.
You know what? I'll tell you what. Add another one, by the way, last night, talking about the officiating and that. There's another bad one there with the Spurs and the Clippers that we were referring to. There's been some poorly officiated games in these playoffs, and I agree with what many people have said. I do think you loosen up and you do have a playoff set of rules that's a little bit looser and a little bit more physical, but there's a difference from that and going into, full board, you know what I'm saying? Right. Prison rules. I think of Jim Carrey and the Cable Guy when he's like, oh, we're playing prison rules, But seriously, it's kind of like it, kind of like that.
Right. See nothing, hear nothing, know nothing. Yeah, well, I wish them best. I was hoping by now that one of the two teams would have won, so I can talk more. But I say go Cavs, and I believe we'll make it to Eastern Conference Finals again. I believe it will be Atlanta Hawks. The Wizards are good. I mean,
really?
Well, that's what everybody's asking me. Well, let me say something. Last year I predicted every round to the finals and to the loser of the finals, which is how I got hurt. But to loser of the finals, and I'm telling you, I was right on the butt with Western and Eastern Conference teams.
Well, there you go then. All right. Well, we'll see how this happens, man. I'm with it. Good call. Anything else, Betty?
No, thanks. Have a great day.
You got it. You too, Betty. Phones are still open. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Indians. See, maybe we're not meant to talk about the Indians just yet. Just as the word comes out of my mouth, here we go again. Caller, you're up on The Sports Fix.
J-Rocc, Daddy, how you doing, brother?
LG, baby, how you doing, my man?
Hey, man, I'm hanging in there. I'm doing well. I'm on my way to get a root canal, but I figured I'd give you a call in case I couldn't talk later. You know what I mean?
Oh, I hear you there. That's amazing that you say that. I'm actually facing something similar myself, man. And for somebody that talks for a living, let me just tell you, dealing with a tooth pain is very very difficult because, as you know, dry air makes it worse. And as you talk for 3 hours at a time, there's nothing but dry air going through your mouth. So it gets quite painful. Right. It gets painful to do the fix sometimes. And I'm gonna probably be in the same boat as you. I'm probably going to end up needing something like that, but I feel for you. So get the talking out. What's up, LG? What do you want to talk about?
I tell you one thing, J-Rocc Daddy. Here we are again, one day before the NFL draft, and we're still not really sure what these Cleveland Browns are going to try to pull off. There was some talk about maybe getting the number 5 from Washington. I don't know what we'd have to give up for that, and you know, a lot of people are starting to talk about the fact that if the Browns don't take a quarterback in this draft, that means they're 100% committed to Johnny Manziel. I don't believe that for a second, J-Rocc Daddy. I think Manziel has a long way to go to prove himself and prove that rehab really did take effect on this young man's life, and hopefully he changed his ways and he's going to study the playbook, learn how to get the job done the way that a professional's supposed to do it. I'm still concerned about the size of this athlete. I still think what you and I have talked about in the past needs to come true tomorrow night, and that's an offensive lineman, maybe a defensive lineman. I tell you, building some depth on the line should be the top priority for Ray Farmer. You look at guys like Joe Thomas; he's been around a long time, but also his mistakes are escalating a little bit. If you think about it, J-Rocc, year to year, he's getting a little bit more sluggish, maybe a little bit more jumping off the ball. You know how people's nerves go the older they get. You see it all the time in golf. The first thing that goes on an older player is the putting, you know. So you got to bolster up this offensive line. You got to think about the future, and you got to think about, getting a guy that can get the ball downfield and stay on his feet. If you can't keep the guy on his feet, I don't care if you have Peyton Manning playing quarterback for you, although his release time is outstanding, and that's going to help him greatly. But the Cleveland Browns have a job to do tomorrow night, and let's hope that they start doing it the way that they need to do it to make sure that this team's going to be the best possible competitive team that they can field this year. The other end of the spectrum is the Cavaliers are walking wounded right now, plus you got the other guy suspended for 2 games. I think that was a little bit harsh, considering the other guy who jerked out Kevin Love's arm only got a 1-game suspension. I tell you, J-Rocc Daddy, you said it a couple days ago on the Sports Fix show about the Cavs or the NFL refs handing the Eastern Division to somebody else besides the Cleveland Cavaliers. Well, we're going to see what the depth of the bench is right now for the Cavs, and we're going to see how good these guys can play with the absence of Kevin Love. I think we're going to see big things coming out of Tristan Thompson in the next series. Oh, yeah. Shumpert did a heck of a job last game. I think we're going to see more out of that young guy. It's going to be interesting to see. And, let's face it, we're not really sure who we're going to play yet. I thought Chicago would have blown out the Bucks the other night, but obviously Milwaukee's not going to lay down, and they're not going to go away without a fight, man. So they could. Either way, I don't think the Bucks could beat the Cavaliers, and I'm pretty. Oh,
that's
I'm
a
pretty
much
convinced.
different. Yeah, that's a much different matchup for the Cavs. Like I know, but then again, how can you talk against a team that knocked off the Bulls? Were they to do that? But physically, matchup wise, I mean, that's one that really favors the Cavaliers in many ways, even without Kevin Love. But like I said, if they're able to knock off the Bulls, especially with the Bulls having home court advantage like that, then you definitely couldn't look past them either. But it's going to be interesting. And I'll tell you what, you mentioned Tristan. I've been plugging that he was going to be the MVP of this playoff run anyway, in my opinion, the silent MVP, the one that people don't talk about. But I'm going to just put on record now, with Kevin Love out, Tristan Thompson in the next round, he's going to average 15 and 12. Watch for the series. He's going to average 15 and 12. He's going to step in and fill that role. I mean, he can be that guy if he was starting anyway. And I think that he'll just jump right back into that role. And I think him and Mozgov are really going to do a number on teams down low. But like you said, the key is going to be getting contributions from the back end of the bench. I mean, whether you're talking about Miller, whether you're talking about Jones, I mean, we've seen each have a moment here and there from the season. They're all going to have a moment here and there in the next series for the Cavs to keep it going. But it's definitely still possible. I've been joking all week about how some of the media people that were not necessarily not everybody was anti Kevin Love. I shouldn't say it like that, but a lot of people were, complaining and nitpicking and this and that all along. Those same people, as soon as Kevin Love goes out, Cavs are done. Oh, this is the worst thing ever. This is only in Cleveland. Kevin Love goes down. And I'm like, man, 2 weeks ago, you guys were like, psh, we don't even need Kevin Love, man. Kevin Love can go play for the Lakers, man. We don't need him. And now, without Kevin Love, the Cavs can't win. Poor LeBron's got to do it by himself, man. Now, I agree that the trip got more difficult, but it's not like this hasn't happened before. And it's not like it hasn't happened to LeBron in the last few years. I mean, think about the 4-year run with Miami. There was not a healthy big three the entire run. There was early, and that's why they had the success they did early. But the last 2 years, you had a very broken down Dwayne Wade, and the Heat.
And not only that, you got to remember, didn't Bosh have an abdominal problem, abdominal strain?
Absolutely, and you had moments where one or both of the other three with him in Miami were out or not effective for stretches of time. So there's still a lot, and there is a reason. Anytime you have two of the best, probably 15 players in the NBA, because I don't know how high you put Kyrie exactly, but he's in the top 10 or 15 in the NBA. When you've got two of the top 15, then you always have a chance.
Well, it's like I said in the beginning of the run here, J-Rocc Daddy. I told you right out front that barring injuries, that I didn't think anybody could beat the Cavs in a 7-game series. Now let's just hope and pray that there's no more further injuries to this Cavaliers starting lineup, because you'd hate to see a guy like Kyrie go out, or even a LeBron James. I mean, his presence on the floor is definitely a big help to these young guys, and he's almost like a player coach right now, if you can believe that. And like I said, we just got to make sure that nothing else happens. Hopefully we don't see the same antics that we saw take place Sunday in Boston. I think some of that borderline on dirty basketball, if you want my opinion. I think the Cavs retaliated and it quashed them a little bit. We're going to see that now with the absence of Smith for 2 games. But I'll tell you one thing, J-Rocc Daddy, this Cleveland Indians team, I'm jumping ship now on the Cavs, as you are probably well aware of right now. How in the heck do you give up 6 runs in 1 inning to lose the game last night, man? I mean, what's going on with that Tribe, man?
We put it off for 33 minutes here, but there we go. LG brings it up, and I guess now's the time to get. I'm with you, because Moss hits the blast, and you're going, okay, this is what you want to do right here. You finally get the big hit when you need it. You get your big inning. You back your pitcher up, and it's like, okay, the Indians are going to take this one and out. If you listened yesterday, I said the Indians win tonight's game. I went on bold. I said the Tribe's winning tonight. Spelled out a bunch of reasons why I thought it was going to happen. They had a closed-door meeting, and matter of fact, Terry Francona was quite facetious when he looked ahead into the future and said, you don't rip off a winning streak just because you closed the door on the meeting. And that was true, because they did what they did last night. You're thinking, okay, they had a meeting. They pulled themselves together. They're going to go out here and for one night anyway, this is the script, and it went very well. And the very next inning, boom, as we keep talking about, every time this team fights back, every time this team does what they need to do, they give it right back in spades in a way that makes you go, what did I just watch? And again, a 6-run inning does it right there. And now here the Indians sit. It's their worst start at home since 1991, I believe. And it's just you continue to dig the hole. And I mean, I have not jumped ship in any way on this team, but after what you see there, you just come back. I'm speechless after last night, because you gave it all right back. I mean, boom. And whether it's Atchison one night, whether it's whoever it is, you're watching a different bullpen guy blow up every night. One night it may be Shaw. One night it may be Allen. One night it's Atchison. It's not the same thing every night. It's not even the same person every night. It's like they're rotating. You know, sometimes when teams are good, they say different guys are contributing every night. Different guys are contributing to suck right now.
Well, you know, the thing is, J-Rocc, Daddy, these players are going to have to dig down deep and find out what they're made out of, man, because I just think it's a lack of focus right now, man, and they're taking things too casual. You got to go out there and you got to give it 110% each and every start, every opportunity that you get as a bullpen pitcher. You got to go out there and do your job a little bit better. I just think it's a matter of they're not as focused as possibly they could be, and I think that's one of the reasons you saw Francona and the team have a closed-door meeting so that they could get their focus back. But until they can maintain that focus game after game, man, oh my God, it's going to be a terrible thing to watch and a terrible thing to witness. So hopefully they can get that focus back. If I was Francona, I'd have another closed-door meeting today, and I'd bring up focus, boys. You're professional athletes. This is what you're made out of. Let's dig down deep. If I find the intestinal fortitude needed to go out there and give it 110%, and don't give up so easy, man. I think that's what it's easy to sit here and talk about it, J-Rocc, but when you're out there losing night after night, game after game, like the Tribe has done most of the season so far, you get a little bit dejected. You're a little bit down. You need somebody to lift you up, and that's why. You know, a lot of people were talking with Swisher if he could make a return and give this team a spark. I'm not so sure that that's going to happen, but his attitude is always pretty good, man. And you know
what? That's something I brought up yesterday, and I know people go, "Hey, well, you're not the biggest Knicks." No, I'm not a Nick Swisher fan, but I brought that.
We don't want
to
mention the name too much on the sports pitch show because all kinds of weird things will start happening.
Yeah, Lord knows he's the ghost of he's the bane of the Sports Fix existence. But seriously, the attitude, I've brought that up. He has an infectious enthusiasm, and this team just need somebody to set hot foots back in the dugout. They need somebody to put bubble gum on somebody's hat. That stuff that you used to see on the blooper reels, man. They need a guy like that going around, running some fun through the locker room, because that's the only thing I know. And hey, you can say, well, these guys don't need to have fun. They need to focus. They need to win games. That's great. But I don't think, it's not like they're not trying. It's not like they're not trying to win these games, you know? And I just think that somebody needs to inject a little life in, and I'm going to say it. I don't know what he can do with his bat, but I do believe that whole positive bro-hio thing that he brings to the table is exactly what this team needs in the dugout right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, J-Rocc. And, with people saying, well, you shouldn't have fun, you're professionals, that's baloney, because part of the thing about winning is fun. I mean, when you're losing, we all know how unfun losing is and how dejected your attitude can become.
They're playing baseball, man, for a living. They have fun every day of their lives, trust me.
But not when you're losing, J-Rocc, Daddy. It's not fun. We all know it's more fun to win than it is to lose, and it doesn't even matter if you're sitting at home playing
LG,
checkers.
I got to jump in. Here because we're up against the break, but I want to give you something, and I'll talk about this with Dan when we come back. But Pat McManaman broke out the story just in the time that we've been on the phone that the Browns have offered 2 first-round picks here to the Tennessee Titans to move up to number 2, where they would plan to take Marcus Mariota. So that's
there you have it, J-Rocc. That tells me that the Cleveland Browns organization is not, and I repeat, is not 110% committed to Johnny football.
Oh, no. Well, we knew that. I agree that maybe it wasn't 90%. But, yeah, I'm with you.
These people out here that think that the Browns are 110% committed to Manziel, they're just fooling themselves. But if you're really going to give up 2 first-round picks to move up to number 2, that tells me for sure, we're not committed to Manziel. The thing is, I'm not sure Mariota is the guy that we need, J-Rocc, Daddy. I mean, playing the kind of offense he's used to in Oregon, I'm not so sure he's NFL ready at this particular point in time. So people might think he's the answer. They might think this is the great white savior that's going to come into Cleveland and pull us out of the toilet and win some football games. But, you know, he scares me a little bit too, man. I don't see a big upgrade between him and Manziel at this moment in his life. I know he's a little bit more mature. He takes things a little bit more seriously as far as his work ethic goes and being game ready. I'm sure he'll study and work his butt off, but, you know, jumping from college to the NFL, as I talked to you for years about now, it's 0.5% of all the guys that play football in college make it to the NFL. 0.5%, J-Rocc, Daddy. So you got the best of the best out there on an NFL football playing field, and I don't think that you're going to see a guy like Mariota excel in his first season with the Cleveland Browns. And then bringing him in and giving him a starting role might even be questionable. So I'm not so sure that that's a great deal. I still think the Browns should keep those first 2-round draft picks. I think they should go after an improved offensive line and possibly a defensive guy to help stop the run, because we know that the Cleveland Browns, defensively, sometimes that run comes back to haunt us, J-Rocc.
Oh, for sure, man. And it's going to take more than that. They're going to have to throw in 43, too, if they want to move up to number 2. They're going to have to throw in 43, too, and there's just no way. Even if you're willing to go 12-19, you can't go 43, too, in my opinion. But I'll tell you what, I got to go here, LG, but one thing that's interesting, and I'll talk about this with Dan when we come back, is do you think it's coincidence that the day before the draft, the Joe Thomas quotes come out about what a changed man Johnny Manziel is and how he's got a bright future now with his hard work ethic? I'm not saying that's not true, and I'm not saying that he's not working hard, but I find the timing quite coincidental, and it behooves the Browns quite well heading into tomorrow, because now all of a sudden the smoke screen's out there. Are they really behind it? Are they buying into this? Or are they trying to hype him up to find somebody else who wants to buy into him? There's so much potential for what could happen with the Browns tomorrow. I mean, in any direction. They literally could trade up, get Mariota, keep all the quarterbacks. They could trade up, get a quarterback, trade Manziel as part of another trade to get back into the first round. They could trade everybody they got, and they could draft some dude we're not even talking about. Who knows what they're going to do tomorrow.
First of all, J-Rocc, Daddy, let me just interject before you got to go.
They're trading Manziel tomorrow. I've got a gut feeling that they're trading Johnny Manziel.
That's what I was just going to say. I'll take your second option there, that Joe Thomas doesn't believe this 110% that Manziel's a complete change guy, because let's face it, J-Rocc, Daddy, football operations really haven't even started yet. And how can you come out and make a statement about how changed and how dedicated the guy is when you're going to show up and lift weights for a couple of days a week? You know,
LG?
Until you see what this guy was going to do on a football field day in and day out, after practice, before practice, what it takes to get out there and be the leader a quarterback's supposed to be. How can you possibly come out and make a statement about how changed he is when definitely hasn't proved anything yet, man? I mean, I just think it's far-fetched, too, the day before the draft. I think that might lift Manziel's trade value a little bit, that a guy like Joe Thomas would come out and make a stupid statement like that. But
he didn't make a stupid statement. It's a good statement, Larry, and I think that Ray Farmer pulled Joe Thomas aside. I think Ray Farmer pulled Joe Thomas aside and said, look, man, you're not doing us any favors here, man, because you're just dropping his value, you know? And Joe Thomas is like, I got you, Ray. I know what you're doing. I'm just kidding. I don't know what the deal is.
You know, when I say stupid, J-Rocc, it's stupid from the standpoint, if we're smart enough to sit here and read between the lines and go, wow, Joe Thomas just came out and said this. How could it really be true? Because Joe Thomas hasn't really witnessed anything
but
yet.
He has. No. He has, LG. It's not like this. Look, football has been back in off-season football since he came out. And all I'm saying is that's what he referred to. He's not making that up. I mean, I have no doubt that the kid's at the building every day now.
Up on time now.
Right. I have no doubt that he's showing up on time now because he has to. He has to salvage the career. So, yeah, he's showing up on time, but I just thought the timing of it was very good for the Browns heading into tomorrow. But my gut just tells me that there may be multiple moves, and I think that they're propping up to part ways with Johnny Manziel, and I think Chip Kelly ends up with Johnny Manziel in Philadelphia.
Well, wouldn't it be a hoot if Tim Tebow ended up on the Cleveland Browns, J-Rocc Daddy?
Well, I don't know about that part of it, but he is going to – I'm telling you, my gut tells me Manziel's going to be part of multiple moves, or maybe not. Maybe that's where the Browns are right now. That's what I want them to do. I want the Browns to have 17 plans for tomorrow. I want them to play the draft as it comes, as it happens, as one guy comes off, move your pieces and take the best move that's available now. If it's A, B, C, D, whatever it is. And then just keep formulating your plan as you go. If you work the draft instead of letting the draft work you, the Browns can come out winners tomorrow.
Well, J-Rocc Daddy, if you remember last year's draft, the Browns made a few moves in the early ongoing, and I'll still never get over getting rid of 4 and not taking Sammy Watkins, especially when you knew Josh Gordon was facing a season-long suspension, even though it got reduced to 10 games. You knew your best playmaker on the offense wasn't going to be there to contribute to help this team win. And, you really got to come back and think about that. I know you can't cry over spilled milk, J-Rocc Daddy.
Nope.
But just suppose a guy like Sammy Watkins was there and the mediocre quarterback that Brian Hoyer turned out to be, how much better would he have been with a guy like Watkins? Who knows? I mean, we can't cry over spilled milk, but what the Browns have to avoid this time around, it's almost like the last few years we've been throwing out first-round draft picks like it's used diapers, J-Rocc Daddy, and we can't afford to do that because, you don't get this many first-round draft picks year after year after year. We've been very fortunate to have them. Hopefully somebody in this organization's really doing their homework. They really know what they're going to do this time around, and we're going to go out and get a proven commodity that's going to help this Cleveland Browns football team as soon as he comes into camp.
I know I got to wrap this up, but what you just said hits it on the head. When I say that, I don't mean even giving up on Johnny Manziel long term as far as what you just said. When you have so much assets tied up, so many multiple first-round picks tied up in a position, that's the other reason that I see a move coming. It's not just because, it's because of all the other stuff too, but the biggest thing is return value back because you can't have that much resources, that much tied up. You get some value back. You're not going to get your first-round pick back, but you try to extract as much value back from that you've decided to go in a different direction. So if you go in a different direction, do you carry the baggage from your last direction with you, or do you try to sell that car for as much as you can and forget about that and move on? Whether that's a good car or not is no longer your concern. You've gone in a different direction, and you need to salvage as much of your investment as you can. LG, my man, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but I got to go, man. Good call.
Well, I'll take that analogy, though, J-Rocc. I think it's a great analogy, and I do think you got to get as much out of that car as you can possibly get.
Yep.
Because you and I know we're not going to get a first-round draft pick for Johnny Manziel, man. So you take care. I'll talk to you soon. God bless you, man. Keep up the good work, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Like I always say before the draft, J-Rocc, baby, go Browns!
I think you just say that before everything, LG, but that's a good one, my man. Good call. Have a good one, brother.
I'll see you later, J-Rocc.
You got it. My man, LG from over at Cleveland Sports 360. Man, it was a long segment, but that's all right. We got some phone calls in. You guys, I love hearing from you. Keep the calls going, 216-539-7535. We're going to take a break, get you some news, and come back with Dan Wismar from EverybodyHatesCleveland.com, the Cleveland fan, and he's here on the Sports Fix next. We're talking Tribe, Cavs, Browns, draft, and more with Dan Wismar next after the news.
Shame on you, you cried in bed. Shame on you, you told a lie. Big girls do cry, big girls.
The Sports Fix, the show that asks the question,
What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou?
We'll be right back.
The wait is finally over, guys. Baseball season is here at last, and the excitement continues all season long. Here we go again at DraftKings.com, the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments, just instant cash, instant gratification. Why wait until the end of the season to claim victory when you can win huge cash every day? At DraftKings, it's like a brand new season every time you play. Just select 2 pitchers and 8 position players, stay under your salary cap, and you could be on your way to an enormous payday. Last year, Peter from Colorado won $1 million at DraftKings in one day just playing fantasy baseball. Hundreds of thousands of fantasy sports fans, just like you and I, have already cashed in at DraftKings. Now it's your turn, baby. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code SPREAKER to play for free. You could win part of the $300 million. Yes, I said $300 million in prizes being awarded this baseball season. Use promo code SPREAKER for free entry now at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
Hey, this is Scott Fujita, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
No football? No problem at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. From their awesome Wing Mondays to every single Cavaliers and Buckeye Hoops games in full HD, the excitement never stops. Every day of the week brings a different set of food and amazing drink specials. Fight fans, Harry Buffalo North Olmsted is the home for every UFC pay-per-view live on the big screens. And let's not forget their mouth-watering trademark, the Bison Burger. Nobody does bison like Harry Buffalo. The perfect combination of healthy and delicious. What are you waiting for? Get to Harry Buffalo, just outside Great Northern Mall today. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize. I mean, a really real prize. Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, FantasyJocks.com. Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Signs and Ship, the official printing source of the Sports Fix. Locations in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida. Find out more at signsandship.com.
News break.
Good morning, I'm Bob Picozzi. The sound of the crack of the bat will be louder than ever, but you won't hear any "get your hot dogs." There will be an eerie silence this afternoon at Camden Yards when the Orioles play the White Sox in the first Major League Baseball game, which will be closed to the public. The gates won't open for fans because of rioting in the streets in Baltimore on Monday. It's the 10th time the Blazers have trailed in an NBA playoff series 3-1, and Portland failed to win any of those 9 previous occasions. The Blazers will be in Memphis tonight for Game 5. A basket interference call on DeAndre Jordan with 4 seconds left took away a go-ahead basket last night, and the Spurs beat the Clippers 111-107 to take a 3-2 game lead in their Western Conference first-round series. Jordan called his move a dumb play.
You can't blame anybody for that but me. You know what I mean? I tipped the ball. I hit it. So like I said, that's on me.
Game 6 tomorrow night in San Antonio. ESPN NBA insider Mark Stein is reporting that the Thunder are speaking with Florida coach Billy Donovan about their head coaching vacancy. Within the last 12 months, GM Sam Presti has hired 2 members of Donovan's staff.
For over 60 years, Ferguson has been the name that pro contractors count on for plumbing, HVAC, waterworks, and more. They have the right products and the right people right around the corner. Put them to work for you at Ferguson.com.
Now, back to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live. J-Rocc back with you here. Jerry Myers rolling on here, getting ready to be joined by Dan Wismar, the Cleveland fan, and everybodyhatescleveland.com. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things here as we get back into it. The phones are not open, but you can still call. Leave your take on the hotline anytime, 216-539-7535. Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixCLE. And as always, you can email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Let's go to the phones here. Let's get my man Dan Wismar in on the conversation. And we're kind of all over the place today on a hump day edition of the Sports Fix. LG kind of ended it zeroing in on the Indians. Man, it took us a while to get there. But, I mean, can you blame me? Can you blame me? But at least I've got company here today in this conversation. So I guess we'll start there. Let's get Dan in. Dan Wismar, my man, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing okay, Jerry. Misery does love company, so here I am to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. I opened the phone, so I didn't need you earlier, but I texted you and said, hey, if I need you, you want to go a little bit earlier? I'm like, man, there's nothing but bad things to talk about, man. I need company here, man. It's just, it's the middle of a tough week here in Cleveland. You got the Indians, you've got the angst about will the Browns mess this up or not tomorrow, and of course, the sky has fallen on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and here we are Wednesday, right in the middle of all of it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, might as well get the get the misery out of the way with the try first here. I guess nothing is as bad as ripping your guts out and stomping them on the ground as a bullpen that gives up a lead late in the game, especially when you need a win so bad. And that was, Cody Allen did it a week or so ago, and now we had the same thing happen yesterday. And we talked at the beginning of the year about bullpens and how you can never sort of count on them. But the last thing you really want to do is, when you have a great season out of your bullpen, as the Indians arguably did last year, is count on them to do it again back to back with essentially the same personnel. And that's really what we're seeing here this year when the guys like Allen, like Subchinski, like Atchison, who somehow did it with mirrors last year. I never did quite figure it out. They just haven't been as reliable. Shaw certainly looks like he's suffering the effects of 80 appearances a year ago, and that was one of the concerns with Francona beating up his bullpen guys and using them so often, setting the major league record for trips to the pen. That what we're seeing now is sort of realizing some of our worst fears about that last year, whether you can chalk it up to overuse of the guys or just guys that are maybe beyond the point of their careers where they're at their peak. Certainly you might think old man Atchison might be.
Yeah. I knew you were meaning him.
Hitting that carear, milestone. But it's just deflating. It's just absolutely gut-wrenching when you have a big 3-run bomb like that and you turn around and give up a 6-pack the next inning. It's just really is a gut punch for you, and you can imagine how the players must feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been saying, there's two different ways to go with that. For the gut punch part of it, we've been talking about needing that big hit, needing to come through, and then they do it. They get it. Boom. Moss. Okay, this is great. Bauer did his thing, and now we're going to get the lead, and we're going to finish this thing off, and at least for one night, all is well in Cleveland again. And then, boom, up in flames the very next inning. And that's what's happened all season long is the very next inning. It's the comeback inning, the stopper inning, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, they can't do it all season long. The 1 or 2 games that they did it, they won. Other than that, they just keep giving it up. And the other side of that, when we talked about the pen, I think all of us knew some of those guys were going to be affected. I mean, because you had 3 guys who set records there, plus the overall bullpen. You knew there was going to be some damage, whether it was to Shaw or Atchison or Allen or who it was going to be to. What I don't think anybody realized was what happens if all of them are hit and all of them suck at the same time, because that is kind of where you're at now. And again, these things can change, and a month from now they could go through a hot streak and you could go, wow, they've got a strong bullpen again, but it's not strong right now. And I mean, just last night alone, you look at the box score, you look at the 4 relievers that came in, look at their ERAs, 5.6, 6.7, 5, 4. You know, I mean, these are not, it's not like they're bad nights. I mean, everybody has had a tough run here. So even when you get the good pitching, and it wasn't a fabulous performance from Trevor Bauer, but it was what deserves a victory. 6 innings, 3 runs, you know, took care of business, got it to your bullpen with a lead and a chance to win the game. I mean, these guys can't go 9 perfect innings every time. And I mean, now we're at the point where, I mean, it's just, and again, it's not, last night, a different way to lose, as a gut punch. The night before, just absolute apathy across the board, the way they played and sleptwalked through it, and it even affected your best pitcher, Corey Kluber. I mean, it just, even he looks affected by it. I mean, in general, there's just, and I don't want to say, I got a little with LG there. I don't agree. It's not like they're not trying. It's not like they're not giving effort, but there's life missing in this team, and you can get sucked into that black hole and not get out of it if something doesn't inject some life. And I don't know what it is. Like I said, I don't know if it's the guy, you know, lighting hot foots in the dugout or what, but something needs to lighten this team up.
Yeah, you're right. And going back to Trevor Bauer, you got a quality start out of the guy who basically said after the game something to the effect of, I was just glad I was able to go out there and get it done without passing out on the mound. He was physically weakened from the food poisoning situation and came out and gave it to you. They said he was missing a couple of ticks on the fastball last night, and understandably so.
Dropped an F-bomb on the post game too. Did you hear him?
I didn't actually, but what I did hear, the quote from him was, you know, we got to get it turned around, and we got to get it turned around effing quick.
Yes,
you know, because
but he's right.
You know, he sees the season slipping away, and who doesn't? I mean, we're all watching the same train wreck going on here. Something that nobody really expected to be this bad, this early, this long, and it just really has been a gut punch. And I don't think there's any truth to the rumor that the Orioles and White Sox called the Indians to find out what it's like to play in front of an empty stadium.
But it's close.
You know,
it's close.
I think they might have rung up a couple of the tribe members, find out what that's all about. But
seriously, I was joking. That's funny you made that joke, because I said something similar last night when I heard about that, man, about that. I said, well, I'm pretty sure both of those teams have played on a Wednesday night in Cleveland in the last few years, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right. They at least got a taste of it. Yeah.
And that's no offense, but we know how
gag.
How, by the way, Dan, just since you brought that up, isn't that just, could you imagine, in the news break, I think they called it an eerie silence, but that's what it's going to feel like. Could you imagine playing a Major League Baseball game in an absolutely empty park?
No, I really can't. That's one for the ages here, and I think that
is that going to be televised?
There's all kinds of pressure. Maybe I think they're probably doing the right thing to either post. I mean, when they postponed it, I think it was the right thing, and logistically, I think they pretty much had to play these games, crowd or no crowd, and hopefully by the time these games are played, it will turn out to have been unnecessary to do what they did, because obviously you hope that the violence subsides there and that you know, sanity comes to pass there in Baltimore, but in the meantime, you can't be diverting law enforcement resources.
Right.
To security of a baseball game when the other stuff is going on a few blocks away. So it's unfortunate, but like I said, I hope that the precautions they've taken prove to, in hindsight, to be unnecessary.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I have a morbid curiosity about that environment and that atmosphere. I don't know if there's a national. I don't know if anybody's throwing it on a national feed, but I think I may have to go online here and just go find a stream, perhaps, of the local, television, because I'm sure it's at least televised in the market. And I'm curious to see what that would look like. But I mean, it's definitely got to feel a little bit awkward for those players. But hey, man, the game counts, none the same, man, and that game's going to count the same as any other one in the standings. But man, look, getting back to the Indians here, and I don't know, I don't even know what to say. I know I probably sound foolish saying, hey, man, they just need to lighten up and have some. But to me, there is no panacea solution. I mean, it's not like there's a bunch of moves. We can say bring up Lindor, bring this guy, do that. Eventually these moves will probably be made, but there's no like one panacea, and that's why part of me just feels like maybe if something takes, and I thought last night would have been a great victory to start it because the way it went, you stuck close, you got the big hit finally. They haven't really been able to get the hit with people on base, the big knocks, and Moss continuing to heat up a little bit, which should be a good thing if everybody else could get going around him. There we go again. It's one or another. Everybody's just taking turns. There's no one thing to fix.
Yeah, that's true. And people are calling for some roster tinkering or, let's get Crockett back because Sapczynski isn't getting it done. Let's get Adams back because, Atchison or Shaw is not getting it done. Move some parts around. But it does seem bigger than that, doesn't it, Jerry? I mean, it doesn't seem like something that's going to be done with tinkering with the 22nd, 23rd, 24th men on the roster. You've got to get productivity out of some guys that, when you've got 5 or 6 regulars that are hitting under 250, and really nobody's hitting, you're in a collective team slump from the start of the season. How the heck do you do that with some roster tinkering? You just have to ride it out, and like Bauer says, hope you're not totally out of everything before you even get to Memorial Day. You just got to hope that something happens and that light comes on for some guys and comes on for 2 or 3 guys at the same time.
Right, and really too here you hope that this whole run, because really what is it? They've got 13 of 16. You got the 7-game homestand here. You leave for 3, and then you've got 6 more at home. So, I mean, you've got a good stretch here, an opportunity. You thought maybe that would get something going too. And again, you guys, as bad as it feels, they're 6 and 13. I mean, that's not exactly the end of it all. But the way they're playing leaves you no reason to believe it's going to get any better, and that's the scary part.
Yeah, it is. Like we've talked about, you can tell by look at the team. It's a subjective standard that we're talking about. The quote unquote playing good baseball, cliche. That if you're just getting a bad break here or there, you had a screw up here or there, and you lose games that you maybe should have won. That's one thing, but just playing bad baseball as the theme of your first month of the season, it doesn't give you a lot of hope that things are going to turn around anytime soon. But people are convinced, and even though we have doubts from time to time that we have in fact one of the best managers in baseball, maybe that's going to account for a few games. Like, I don't know who it was, Casey Stengel, Leo Durocher, one of those famous managers would always say that the manager might win you half a dozen games and lose you half a dozen games during the year, and the rest of the other 150 are going to be, won or lost by players on the field. But you just got to hope that somebody hits their stride here relatively soon, because it is the thing that's the most disappointing, of course, is I looked at those wide shots last night of the ballpark and the stadium, and there's just absolutely nobody there. There might have been 2,500 people in the stands, and they'll announce the attendance as 10 or 11,000 or whatever. I'm not sure what they finally did announce last night, but you just take all the any optimism and any enthusiasm jerked right out of the local fan base. And we've talked about how it's complicated by the Cavs run and interest there, and that's also the reason that we're not talking about an NFL draft more than we are. But it's you needed some buzz at the start of the year to get people hooked in, where they might go to a game in April and then end up coming back for a couple in May, June, and July. And this kind of pours cold water on all that.
Absolutely. 10,698 was the announced attendance last night. But as you said, there was a fourth of that at best in the build. What was that clip that went viral last night that was going around? I don't know if you saw it, of the fan that ditches his phone and his beer to go after the foul ball, and there's just nobody around, and he still goes and takes off. That was kind of what people were making fun of, but what I was sad at is just the visual in general, like you said. And when you pull back at a wide shot, I mean, I literally would order my directors to never take the wide shot of the ballpark on nights like that, because it looks pitiful. Because here's the other thing, and this is going outside of just sports, but in entertainment. I've been in it my whole life, and I know how to put butts in the seats, and I know what makes them not show up. And more than just a bad product, that's the biggest turnoff, a losing product. On top of that is a product that feels cold. It doesn't matter if the Indians were 14-6 right now. If I turn on my television, if the casual fan turns on their television and sees an empty ballpark, I feel like that is not the cool place to be. That is not where anybody else is at, and that is not where I want to be. And just vice versa. You could not be a basketball fan, and if you flip on Game 4 and you watch the crowd going crazy, or Game 2, whatever, the home game, and you go, man, I want to be there. I'll pay $500 for that ticket because I want to be there. And that's part of it too, is when people see that, they go, why would I go down there? Nobody else does. And there's nothing you can do, but it just like breeds more of it, you know?
Well, yeah, for sure. Success breeds success, and a big part of the early Jacobs Field success was just that. It was an event. Yeah. It was the place to be. It was the cool thing, and it was a happening. To use the old expression,
a happening, baby. Yes,
that's
Gorilla
not
Monsoon.
Happening right now. That's for sure, and nothing's going to turn that around outside of a winning streak for this team, or at least a prolonged period of good baseball.
I don't know where you were referencing, but that just threw me back to Gorilla Monsoon. Whenever he would, I'm a wrestling guy. Whenever I was a kid, whenever there would be a big one, that was how he would always describe it. It's a happening here. You can cut the electricity with a knife. They're hanging from the rafters. All the cliches that come with that stuff. But
right. Well, there was, of course, a '60s band called The Happenings, and it was actually more of a '60s term, which is too old for you, my friend. But anyway, that's where it comes from in my cultural references.
There you go, man. All right, so Indians trying to salvage this one here. I guess we'll wrap up on them before we move on to what, at least for today, is a better territory to cover. Who you got going out here? Salazar tonight. Yordano Ventura should be, looks like on paper, a good one, but who knows? I mean, I'm telling you, Dan, I think the worst of everything is the fact. And this is why they waited to do it. It's why Terry Francona waited to have the door close and to do the meeting, because you can only go to that card so many times in a whole season. You can only play that. So I know as a parent that there's only certain psychological things I can play with the kids, because if you do it once or twice, it's working. You do it more than that, and they go, Dad says the same thing every time. So same thing there. And they pulled it, and then they look like, wow, they woke up a little bit, and then that kick in the gut, I think it's double worse, because you had the meeting, and then that happens, and now you look at each other and go, well, what now?
Yeah, that's true. And Francona alluded to that when he talked about, having the meeting. He says, I don't have a meeting to yell at guys, scream. First of all, that goes against his, even keel, treat them like adults personality anyway. What you, I guess, need is that's fire, like you say, has to come from players. And maybe, you and I, the last thing we might have predicted, at the start of the season was that we couldn't wait for Nick Switzer to get back here. I know that's a dangerous thing to say on the show, but, because he is at least the kind of guy who can, lighten things up, veteran, maybe kick some butt a little bit, maybe just light a fire under some people, who knows. But I suppose if there's any personality that might be well suited to lighting a fire under some guys, I guess he might be it. And so maybe the sooner he gets back here, maybe that's maybe that's hoping against hope, or the hope of triumph of hope over experience, but we're grasping at straws right now to try and find something that'll work. And hey, if Nick Swisher can do it, let's get his butt back up here.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, man. He can maybe loosen that up, bring a little something, add something, some spark, some something, and I'm with it, man. And I do think that there's not, like we say, panacea moves, but there's a mix of things that can happen along with guys naturally play. Look, I don't care, and I'll argue this with Mike Brandenberry when he gets on. He can, and he did have concerns about a lot of things, but I'll tell anybody, even if you thought this was going to be a bad season, the worst people that I talked to or had on this show thought that a bad season for the Indians would be a 500 season. So nobody sat here and told me, well, this is going to be a 100-loss team. This is just the most god-awful, worst baseball team in the world. Even people that said this is not going to be a 90-win team, this is not going to be a playoff team, even those people said, it's going to be a 500 team. They're going to be a few games better or worse than they were last year. Nothing special, no different. So even if you said that they were carrying over the same team, I dare anybody to stand in my face and say that they predicted before the season that this was just going to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, you're right. This is something that nobody predicted. We can start with Sports Illustrated, okay? The quote-unquote experts in the field saw a better performance and a better, productivity out of the team than what we've seen. So, yeah, I don't think there's anybody sitting around right now patting themselves on the back for having been right before the season that this team was going to be terrible. There's 140-some games left in the season, and we'll find out. And everybody's tired of hearing it's early because it's not so early anymore. But we'll take the measure of it at the halfway pole at the All-Star break and see where we stand. But in the meantime, obviously just hoping for the best and hoping they can grab that spark somewhere and get on a little bit of a roll.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump from there over to the Cavs because that's where you and I left things on Monday, and literally, I mean, pretty foresight there with you and I talking about potential of a torn labrum, and we said, hey guys, sit tight because this. And right after we get off the air, within hours, here comes the news, and it changes what we were talking about on Monday. Kevin Love, I don't care what anybody says, he's not playing. There wasn't a chance in the world of him playing, and you said that right away. We're like, hey. There's a torn labrum. There is no, we're talking surgery. We're talking repairs. This is not coming back even for the NBA Finals. So now that is what it is, where are you at? You've heard us kind of bouncing around a little bit. Where are you at with the Cavs and now what they've got to do at this point to continue?
Well, I think one thing that has also happened since that Monday announcement is that the Bulls, who were on the verge of being, the next big thing, and have taken the pipe 2 times since we last talked, and all of a sudden a runaway sweep type series is anything but. So they've proven to be mortal. The Atlanta Hawks have proven to be mortal. The Cavs still look like the best team in the East, in my opinion, and in the opinion of I think most people, even without Kevin Love. So. It's going to be tough to get through those first 2 games without J.R. Smith, but I think our man Shumpert is going to carry him. My best appreciation of what's going on here is seeing Olynyk get suspended. I don't know where you were with that.
What do you mean, as far as how much he got?
No, I mean just the fact that he was suspended at all. In other words, all we heard from the national publications and still continue to hear from writers and everything else, well, he and Love just got tangled up.
No, I can't believe he only got one game.
This is what big men do in the NBA. And that's what the song and dance was. And at least the NBA had the nerve to come out and suspend him and basically say, hey, man, there was dirty play there. There was intent to injure Kevin Love there. The NBA at least looked at the film and saw him grabbing Love's arm and saw him, twerking it to all he could when he had. It was not a basketball play, in other words, in the parlance of the coaches and the league. There was no chance for him to get a rebound. He wasn't struggling to get a loose ball. He was grabbing Love's arm and twerking it to the extent, with the intent to injure him. And, the stupidest thing I heard said all week was Stephen A. Smith saying, well, he didn't intentionally dislocate his shoulder. He just wanted to cause some pain. Really, there's a difference there, that you want to draw some distinction there between not wanting to intentionally dislocate his shoulder and just wanting to hurt him a little bit. Ridiculous. So I was glad to see the NBA step up and suspend him to at least acknowledge that, this was a dirty play. This was a play that has no place in the game, and that Olynyk had the intention of injuring him. So at least I was gratified to see that. Obviously,
Let me in on that because I'll take that and go a different way, see, because I'm with you exactly with what you just said, because at that point, though, if you make a suspension, you are now acknowledging just that. And at that point, then I say, what is a one-game suspension? A guy intentionally injured somebody, and he's going to miss months of play because of it, and this cat gets suspended 1 game 6 months from now.
Yeah, you're right. And just the fact that it didn't look quite as vicious as the J.R. Smith swing.
Then don't suspend him at all.
He wasn't even looking where he was swinging. One looks more vicious than the other. And the other thing is no one's going to say a word about, the Olynyk suspension because, what good is suspending a Boston Celtic at this point in the season? It just goes away. Nobody even notices it. He's got to miss, one regular season game next year?
The opener. Yeah, the opener next year.
So I agree with you. It should have been more. But I guess because of so much commentary about boys being boys and big men just wrestling and they quote-unquote just got tangled up with him. No, he didn't get tangled up with him. So that kind of talk at least was put to rest, I think, by the NBA coming out and saying, Olynyk, you deserve to be sat down for a while. Like you, I agree it's not enough, but what we think isn't going to mean much.
People are listening, and if you're not from Cleveland, you're going to go, here goes the homers from Cleveland. But I go back to that Houston game, the Cavs lost at the end when LeBron missed the free throws, and James Harden's, kicking LeBron in the junk, and some of the things that are allowed, we talk about how they're allowed to beat up LeBron, but just in general, some of those things, I think, man, let somebody from the Cavs had done that. Let Kendrick Perkins had come into the game and did that to Isaiah Thomas. Do you know what the national media would have done with that? That thug from Cleveland, he should be suspended for life. Kendrick Perkins has always been a thug. He should be suspended for life. You know what I'm saying, man. And and it just, you know what? The best part about it is that the thing that does them in is their own photographs. The NBA has no argument for it when, it's right there, provable. Anybody can see exactly what happened. But like you said, to me, I was shocked that they suspended him at all because if your cover-up is that it was just a basketball play that got carried away, then there's no reason to suspend him at all because it's a basketball play that got carried away. The minute you say, okay, it was a dirty play, but we're just going to slap him on the wrist, and it's like, get out of here, man. Yeah, and then, like you said, J.R. Smith, and his was bad too. Look, I understand with concussions and all of that. Jay Crowder I got to admit, I lost so much respect for Jay Crowder in this series because I used to like him as a player, and I never saw him every day. So you don't know stuff about certain people until you see him every day, and then you realize what a punk he was in that series, and that doesn't justify getting hit at all. But, you go, J.R. Smith gets 2 games, and Kelly Olynyk gets 1 game. Okay, man. I mean, why don't we just fine them all $15,000 and call it a day?
Yeah, as far as Jay Crowder goes, Jerry, I find it hard to fault him. I mean, all the Celtics, hey, look, we've got to capitalize on the fact that we are less talented than this team we're playing.
I agree.
I agree. So we're going to, they're under coach's orders to play physical, to bang and slam and elbow and hit as much as you can get away with. When they start calling it, well, maybe we'll back off, but maybe we won't. But, under strict instructions, I'm sure Crowder, that's the play on LeBron James. Beat him up physically if we can't match him, athletically. So, I don't think Crowder did anything necessarily vicious, dirty, whatever. He just executed his orders to beat up physically the Cavs player, whoever he was guarding at the time. And I thought he Crowder did a pretty good job of it. Kendrick Perkins decided to put him on the floor to put a stop to it, and that was overdue and welcome from the Cavs fan perspective. But anyway, going forward, I think we're going to see, and some of the people around the NBA know what kind of player Tristan Thompson can be. we're going to find out what kind of player Tristan Thompson can be. And I guess we're going to probably see some more Mike Miller, and we'll probably see some more James Jones, probably see some more Kendrick Perkins, spelling, Thompson. But that maybe puts us at a slight disadvantage when some of the subs are on the floor. But I expect Tristan Thompson to step up and play well, and I don't think you'll lose a lot rebounding. You'll certainly lose some of that floor spacing that Love gives you, and when you've got both Love and J.R. Smith sitting down for 2 games, you're really going to have to get some 3-point shooting from a James Jones or a Mike Miller, but I think they can come up with that. And I don't know, Chicago, we'll see how they do, but at least they're going to come in here slightly humbled after dropping a couple games to the Bucks if they don't drop any more. And I just think that teams are not quite as high on the Chicago Bulls as they were a week ago because they sort of seen them fold under some pressure here over the last couple games.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think that series goes 7? I think it does, man. I think Milwaukee can ride the momentum at home to force a 7th game, and then Chicago will finish it off in their house. But who knows? I saw a lot of buzz on social media that the Chicago fans are trying to buy those tickets on the secondary market, and they want to try to eliminate that home court advantage there because there's a little driving distance between the two. But I think Milwaukee can push them to 7. But what do you think? You think Chicago is going to finish it in 6?
Boy, it seems like they say that's the difference of the playoffs versus the regular season, where you've got a 7-game series and coaches and scouting and adjustments and everything comes into play so much more, and confidence. In a 5-game series, this would have been over. Now it goes to 6 minimum, and momentum is shifted to the other side. Milwaukee's obviously found some things that they can do, and Chicago's been careless with the basketball, turning them over a lot. Haven't been shooting very well, and their offense is just slow to a crawl, it seems. And again, I'm going from looking at it myself and also hearing other people that know more than me about basketball talking about it. But clearly the momentum has shifted in the thing, and Chicago's got to be a little bit back on their heels going, whoa, what are we going to do, or how are we going to counter? So if I were a betting man, Milwaukee playing at home with the confidence they've got, I'm hoping they can pull this out because all this just gives the Cavs more time to rest, more time to scout the Bulls and or the Bucks, and get ready and get rested and practice because they've got a lot of practice to do with 2 new faces in the starting lineup.
Like, I got to give the Bucks credit as we sit now for what we're saying, because a few days ago, a week ago, it was when the Bulls and the Cavs meet. At least now you have to pause and go, or the Bucks, because you can't necessarily write them off. I mean, as we've seen, that series could just as easily be 3-2 in the other direction. I don't know how much you've been keeping track of some of the other playoff series, man, but you know me, my thing for the Spurs. But how about how different that series looks from the beginning, when it looked like the end for the Spurs, to now that they did it again. They rope-a-dope the NBA every year. One of these years, it's not going to work, but they do it every year, man.
Yeah, you're right. It's been a great series, and I have been watching it closely. I watched the game last night up until first thing I did when I woke up this morning is reach for my phone, check the score, because I had not seen the final. I went to bed before that game was over. It looked like in the late third quarter, that the Clippers might be putting some distance between them. They had a 6-7 point lead, I thought, and I thought, okay, I'm going to let this one ride. I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. And so I was a little surprised to wake up this morning and see the Spurs won it on the road again. Won 2 games now in LA. So it's by far the most compelling first round series, and it's just been extremely entertaining to watch. So many great players on both sides, and it's been so highly competitive and back and forth. So yeah, it's been great, and I pull for the Spurs. It's going to be awful tough for them to go through the whole West. Lacking home court advantage in every series they play. But they've proven they can win on the road just about anywhere. So it's just been great theater. And I saw Wilbon last night say he was just hoping it went 7 just because it's been so entertaining. I guess I'm with him. I'd love to see the series go 7 games just so we'll have 7 games to watch.
Yeah, I'm with it because that's a good one. I predicted before the thing, not that I'm a genius. Anybody that knows basketball circled that one and said, there's your best first-round series right there. And absolutely, no doubt it's lived up to it. And I don't remember, I can't remember off the top of my head, how many years has Doc Rivers coached the Clippers now? It's been...
I think just 2.
Is it 2 or 3?
I think it's just maybe 3, but... it might be the 3rd year, but I think it might just be the 2nd year.
Okay.
Because didn't he just fairly shortly after he got that job, didn't he go get his own kid to play for him?
Yeah.
Of course, had a big game. So I'm not sure about that, but I want to say this is just his 2nd year there. But I could be wrong.
I was just curious. Because I know, as we know, we've seen it here when you get the bubble. When you've got your superstars and you've got your window of opportunity, you get the bubble and it grows and the pressure grows until eventually, we just saw with OKC, they did a move much like the Cavs did, except it looks like the Cavs, it looks like they looked at the example of how the Cavs lost LeBron James and they're trying to jump the script by a year in OKC because it looks like they go, okay, maybe the Cavs waited a year too late to make that change with Mike Brown and try to keep LeBron around. So they tried to jump the gun, but Scott Brooks joins Mike Brown as the winningest coaches to never win an NBA title. They've both won 62% of their games. But franchises reach that point where they get, they get on that bubble, and then once they don't get through, you start to make changes. Yeah, you're right. It was just the 2 seasons, 2013-14, and then this past one. But, 2 frustrating exits back-to-back for them, assuming that they can't win here, and that would be interesting. But I'm not going to write them off either. I really like that Clippers squad. I just like the Spurs more.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the replay of the play yet. That the basket interference call with 4 seconds to go that really turned the game. But DeAndre Jordan made that play there, and then sort of he was taking all the heat after the game and putting it on himself for losing it. But that would have put them up 1 with 4 seconds to go, and obviously the pressure much on the Spurs then. But so I hate to see it go on a play like that, but. Talking about the OKC thing, it does look like Billy Donovan's going to get that gig now, and that's been rumored for a while. So I guess he's personally close to the owner there, and the owner's already hired a couple of his, Florida staff people over the last year or 2 to work for the Thunder program. And as much as some people might think that would be a little bit of an outlier of a job, everybody says that's a great job. It's a very desirable job, and I heard Wendy saying the other day that there are NBA coaches that have a job that would like to take that job just because of the situation they're in with Westbrook and Durant. And maybe Donovan's being brought in to salvage those guys to make sure that they stay. And maybe they thought that if they didn't make a change, they were going to lose Durant. And maybe they think that with Donovan coming in that they can keep him there. So who knows what the calculation is there. But you're right. It's a shame to see a guy that had such good success kind of get run out of town. But the owner obviously has his favorites and jumping on his chance to get Billy Donovan when he can.
I mean, there's 2, and you're right, and it's definitely to try to keep Durant because they worried that if they stayed with the Pat hand another year and then things don't work out, then you go. But and this is just the common sense in me, and then people can totally flip me when they make the argument about not winning the big championship. And, like Mike Brown, people would go, well, this guy couldn't win with LeBron James. And, with Scott Brooks, they'll go, well, this guy couldn't win with Harden and Westbrook and Durant at the same time, and you go, how does a guy win 62% of the time? And I know the regular season is just such a different animal than the postseason, but how does a guy do that? I mean, I guess to me, it really does speak to the monotony of the regular season and the dominance of the superstar player in regular seasons, because if you've got a decent squad and a superstar player, you can win 55 to 60% of the time in the regular season in the NBA.
That's true, and I think it also, shows maybe a little bit why LeBron is less concerned than some other people are about where his team happens to be seated once the playoffs start. He didn't really care whether it was 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. At least he came off like he didn't care. You got to beat the best to be the best. You got to beat everybody. You look at teams like, the Wizards coming up, and you look at teams like the Spurs are, seeded, fifth or sixth, and they're right in the thick of it. And so you've got to beat everybody if you're going to come out. And so where you start is less important than, how you're playing when the playoffs roll around. So you're right. The regular season does kind of get overemphasized. And, we saw LeBron in Cleveland win 66 games and 61 games back to back. And neither one of those years resulted in a title. But so you do have to kind of write off the season as being, not more important than it really turns out to be.
It happens all the time, though. George Karl, it happened to him after being named a Coach of the Year and winning 60 games a few years back, if you remember. And Marty Schottenheimer, and obviously there's different circumstances, but when I see one thing I think of, if I was an owner, I'd make lots of changes if things were, if we were frustrated and bumping our head, but I would be clueless to that. You would never get fired. If you were my head coach, Mike Brown would still be my head coach, and maybe Cleveland fans would hate me, but if you're making, if the word gets back to me that it's your fault we lost this or that or this because you're just an idiot and everybody else is propping you up, that's different. But I have such a hard time when those franchises make change for the sake of change because they've changed everything else and they figure, well, now we got to go. Or maybe there's a personality conflict, which is usually part of it with ownership and the coach. But you would have a job with me forever. If you could win 62% of your games, if you were my coach, you would have a job with me forever because there may be things wrong. We may not have the right group of players, but that would convince me that I've got a good coach.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess maybe the NBA more so than certainly more so than the NFL. You can't fire the players. So a lot of, these guys are, long-term deals and they're multimillionaires walking around and they can pretty much dictate when it's time for the coach to go. And I guess to a certain degree, and the NHL is sort of the same way. Not that there's a lot of guaranteed contracts, but the teams are so much team chemistry, and when the players turn on the coach, it's over, and the owner pretty much has no choice. And that seems like that's what happens in the NHL. It's more of a whole team turning on a thing rather than say maybe one or two prima donna superstars on an NBA team that can get a coach shown the door. But I think it's a little bit of a unique circumstance in the NBA where that can happen, and long-term guaranteed money and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars guaranteed to just a handful of players. If an owner feels some changes need to be made, sometimes firing a coach is the only thing you can do.
Yeah, there's a bunch of coaches out there right now going, boy, I wish that guy owned my team, man, because he said he ain't firing anybody if we're doing a good job. So that's what I'm saying. I'm having some fun. It's easy for me to spend other people's money. We get to do it a lot here on sports radio. Dan Wismar joining us here from the Cleveland Fan from EverybodyHatesCleveland.com. Let's switch over. Buckeyes, Browns. I want to talk combine them together here. You got the draft coming up. We can, as you've heard, this stuff out here about the Browns trying to trade up. You and I have been batting this around forever. Tomorrow we'll know what they're going to do for real. But I want to talk to you again where you sit with the Browns right now. And then as we segue this over to, Buckeyes too in the draft. I'm curious where you think, not where they'll go, but maybe who comes off first and how many of them you think, stuff like that. But let's start with the Browns. Where are you at here? Obviously the latest about this trying to trade up stuff. And I mean, people are so fooling themselves if they think the Browns are going to get up there and not give up 19, 12, 43, and something from next year.
Making me crazy, Jerry. It's making me crazy.
Making you crazy.
I have said, and I tweeted yesterday, here's my draft goals. No shenanigans. Wait your turn. Pick at 12 and 19. Get 2 impact players for your team. Keep Jimmy Haslam bound and gagged in a closet. That was basically it. That's all I want. Keep him the hell out of it. And I like you think that it's no coincidence that we had the Johnny Manziel's a changed man interview with Joe Thomas the other day. But aside from that, let's just get 2 good players. I am not as sold on Mariota, never has been, as everybody else is. And you've got 4 quarterbacks on your roster. The last thing you need to do right now is complicate that by bringing in a guy who, by all indications, isn't going to help you in 2015 all that much. Can you really see Mariota, who basically never called a play in a huddle until he got to the Senior Bowl, is going to start in the NFL Week 1 in September? I don't think so. So you're already looking at a project, basically, to be your starting quarterback someday, but likely not this year. This team has too many holes to do that. I'm in favor of drafting a quarterback, but I'd like to see him look at a Hundley or a Petty in round 2 or 3, depending on where that all can happen. Looking at mock drafts, I'd be perfectly happy with just the boring old mock drafts that show the Browns coming away with a combination of a Danny Shelton or a Devontae Parker, and some combination of receiver, defensive lineman, offensive lineman with our 2 first-round picks, and throw in number 43 to maybe you wait till 43 to get that receiver if you can get a Shelton and a Collins, say, at 12 and 19. That's what I want to see happen. I want to see him get 2 impact players with 2 first-round picks and take a shot with a quarterback later in the draft or whatever. The last thing I want to see happen is a trade for Sam Bradford with 19. Bring another journeyman injured quarterback into Cleveland on a 1-year rental because he said he won't sign here. That's absolutely the last thing I want to see happen. The next last thing I want to see happen is a trade up for Mariota, where you give away your top 3 picks for a guy who won't play this year.
I'll tell you what, guys. Keep up. By the way, tweet with us here as we're talking about this at the SportsFix CLE because he's got me going here. As we're talking, Ron Graham's running the Twitter account here. He's just tweeting and retweeting stuff. Some of these things are funny. Breaking news: Marcus Mariota has heard of the Browns' intention to draft him and has decided to go back to Oregon. Here's another one: Browns attempting to trade up to number 2, where they hope to then ruin Marcus Mariota's life, and they continue like that. So, anyways, keep the tweets coming in. But I'm with you, my man. Got to come away with a couple of players in this thing, and that's all there is to it. And there's all kinds of combinations that I could dig. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get what you need to get. And, like you mentioned there, I'm glad you agreed with me because that was just pure my speculation. Everybody else is jumping for joy. Look, man, Joe Thomas is on the Johnny Manziel bandwagon. I'm like, man, he said that a day and a half before the draft. I'm just saying, man, that I don't know. Maybe that's true. I mean, and hopefully if he's here, that's true because you got him one way or the other. But, man, I just feel that I've got a gut feeling that Johnny Manziel is not a Cleveland Brown after the first round of this draft or at some point in the draft. But something tells me that that was a salvage remark to try to prop that up. And I think that depends. I mean, obviously, if the Browns maybe go in the direction you and I want them to go, then maybe they don't go that way. But I definitely think any move involving a quarterback in this draft will have a corresponding move involving one that's on our roster, and the one that you can trade is Johnny Manziel. The other ones you can't trade, Yeah,
that's a pretty safe bet, I think. But I also think that it's because we need something to talk about and the national media needs something to talk about. I don't doubt that the Browns are actually talking with the Titans about, moving up. And
for
from
sure.
everything you hear that if they don't trade with the Titans, they might be looking to trade up with teams 3, 4, and 5, Jacksonville, Oakland, Redskins, all of which have put feelers out that they're interested in moving down. So it wouldn't bother me at all to see the Browns trade up somehow to 3, 4, or 5 and come away with Leonard Williams or
what I was
Dante
going to ask
Fowler
you.
or Amari Cooper.
That's what I was going to ask you,
one of those
Dan.
top 5 guys. I'd love to see that happen as long as you don't mortgage the total future for it. You're going to have to give up probably 19, 43, or whatever. You're certainly going to have to give up 12 if you trade up to one of those top 5 spots. It's a matter of how much else you have to give away. I don't want to give away 12 and 19 to move up into the top 5. I might give away 12 and 43 to move up into the top 5. But we'll see how that goes. But I'm just looking right now, Jerry, at 4, and then obviously there's more mock drafts than Carter makes liver pills. But I'm just looking right now at 4 of them side by side from guys that you hear about: Daniel Jeremiah, Charlie Casserly, Charles Davis, Lance Zierlein. This is up at NFL.com, and they've got 4 side-by-side mock drafts at 12, then 3 of the 4 have the Browns taking Devontae Parker and having Devontae Parker be there for the Browns. The 4th one has Kevin White going to the Browns, Charlie Cashley. So all 4 guys, quote-unquote experts, have the Browns going wide receiver at 12, and all 4 guys have the Browns going defensive line at 19. 2 of them, Eddie Goldman out of Florida State, 1 Malcolm Brown, and 1 Danny Shelton still being there at 19.
Wow,
so
that would be nice.
That would be nice.
Shelton
I'd be
at 19?
super happy with Parker and Shelton, or Parker and Malcolm Brown. And substitute either one of those with an Andrus Peat or Rashad Perriman, or maybe Nelson Aguilar, or one of those top wide receivers instead of Parker, and another top lineman, Cameron Irving, or guys like Pete or Malcolm Brown instead of a Danny Shelton. So that's just the way I'm praying it goes. I hope this other stuff is smokescreen stuff. I hope that, as I told you a couple of times, I hope that the Browns aren't the team that everybody else sees coming, and says, well, boy, we don't really want to do this, but geez, the Browns are hanging out 19 draft picks out there, so we pretty much have to do it because they're so freaking desperate. So I just hope that isn't the scenario that plays out, that the Browns again overreach and appear desperate and are in fact desperate to take another gamble. I want to see them out the draft come to them.
If the Browns take a quarterback in the first round here, I just saw this, it would be their 4th first-round quarterback in 9 drafts. That's amazing. No, I don't think any team can ever brag about having done that before. That would probably be a first, but...
And 3 out of 4. And 3 out of 4, Jerry.
3 out of 4. Yeah, exactly. Even more recent. Oh, I'm with you, brother. Trust me. Yes, absolutely. John McMullen, his last mock draft before the draft, he has the Browns trading up to get Mariota as well. He's got that as what he thinks happens, man. And going to be very interesting to see what the Browns do. And I just, like I said, I don't mind multiple ways this could go. I don't have one set, hey, they've got to do this, they've got to do that. Let the draft come to you. But this never happens. And so this is foolish talk, you guys. This never happens. But the Browns are in a position where, for once, if they played it right, they could be, as you said, the team, not just that you don't see coming, but that team that after the draft, people go, did you see what the Cleveland Browns did? They moved this for this and got this guy. And then they moved over here and got that guy. And they moved up a couple spots and took this guy. And what a draft for the Cleveland Browns. It never happens, but they have the ammunition to do that if they just go out here and let the draft come to them. And just as it comes, do the best thing for the team in each individual instance.
Amen, brother. Amen. I'm with you. I'm with you all the way. I hope and pray that that's the way things go down. That they sit and relax and pick at 12, pick at 19, and don't answer the phone because people are looking to get you. People are
don't answer the phone unless you're trying
coming.
to get up. If you want to move that 43 up and go get somebody else, okay. We'll talk about that.
That's right, because you do have 2/3. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's the third round where they have 2 picks. So yeah, you want to move a third. If you want to jump back up from 43, trade 43 and one of your thirds to get up into the high 30s, maybe. To pick up somebody that you like a lot. That's fine. I'm good with that. If you haven't got your receiver yet, and you want to go get Jalen Strong in the 30s somewhere, or you want to go get an Eric Flowers, if a guy like that will drop down to you, maybe. So yeah, that's the kind of move that I can see you making. And if you unlike some teams who I heard the Buffalo guy saying the other day that they thought it would be hard for their draft choices to make their roster. And the Browns, I don't think, really have that problem.
Yeah.
You have 10 picks, and probably not 10 guys are going to make your roster, but 7 or 8 or 9 of them probably will, and probably should if you draft intelligently. So, getting back to the Buckeyes, though, I think it'll be a pretty close to see which guy comes off the board first, Devin Smith or Michael Bennett.
Yep.
I think, a lot of people like Devin Smith. You haven't heard as much talk about Michael Bennett, but from what I have heard from scouts and NFL people anonymously is that they consider him a solid second rounder, and be surprised if the second round ends without Michael Bennett being off the board, defensive tackle. And Smith, I've seen him sneaking into the first round at the bottom. Some people see the Patriots taking him at 32. But more likely is a second rounder, and his stock hasn't exactly been skyrocketing lately. He's sort of been, he was talked about a lot for a while, and now he's sort of down in that second round. Some people say even third round. So it'd be interesting to see whether Bennett or Smith goes first. I think those two will be the first two Buckeyes off the board, followed then by Doran Grant, the corner from Akron, who most people are looking at as more of a third round guy.
I like him, man.
I like Doran Grant. I think he's going to have a nice long NFL career.
Yep.
At the very least as a nickel back, but I think he can play the outside corner in this league.
You know where I think he goes? I think he ends up in Pittsburgh, man. I don't know, man.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. They love Buckeyes, and they need cornerbacks badly.
Yes,
so,
they need cornerbacks. That's where yep.
Almost everybody has the Steelers going corner in the first round. Byron Jones, a lot of people think. There's a Marcus Peters from Washington is out there. The kid from Wake Forest, Kevin Johnson, is another one. All three are, considered first-round talents, and almost everybody has the Steelers going corner. But that in the first, but I'm sure they would turn around and look at a, 2-year solid Buckeye starter from a national championship team. Kid's a great tackler. He's a good cover man. He's very fast. Not elite fast, but fast enough. And, he's just a solid corner, and he'll be in this league a long time, I think. Yep. So, yeah, third round maybe for the Steelers. Doran Grant wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Absolutely, man. And, hey, I know the Browns feel deep at cornerback, but if that guy is out there in the right spot for you, I would definitely feel good having him in the new brown and orange jerseys as well.
Yeah, no doubt. A couple of guys I would love to see the Browns pick up as undrafted free agents. I think neither of them is likely to be drafted, although one or the other of them could go in the 6th or 7th. And those are the Darrell Baldwin, the big offensive tackle who started at right tackle last year for the national champs. Kid from Solon who's 6'6", 310, a lot of athletic ability, maybe a little raw because he only was a 1-year starter. He's not projected to be drafted, but I think he's going to be on somebody's roster next year because you just don't get 6'6", 310
right.
with the athleticism of this guy. And with the coaching he's received at the college level from the best offensive line coach in the country, in Ed Warner, and by all indications, a great kid, a great character guy, and a hard worker. So Darrell Baldwin, I'd love to see him, in Cleveland, where we could use some depth on the offensive line at the tackle spots, and a guy that could help a lot of NFL teams. The other guy is Curtis Grant, who, again, started at inside linebacker for the Buckeyes for the last couple of season and a half maybe. What an athletic package he's wrapped in. I mean, they say he wasn't the most instinctive guy, but his play really elevated last year. He's about 6'3", 240, tremendous body type and physical abilities, and a guy who really finally came on for him last year. He played very, very well, especially down the stretch. And he's going to play linebacker, I think, in the NFL too. And most people think he won't be drafted, but he could be near the end. Another guy that, you could wouldn't mind seeing him in an orange hat next August and watch him compete and see if he can make this roster.
Tell you what, man, and Ray Farmer's good at those undrafted guys. You just named 2 of them that could be those diamond in the rough that you find there, man, and that would be Baldwin, too. That's really intriguing there because, as you said, the size with the athleticism doesn't exactly fall on trees, and that's somebody I'd be all about taking a flyer on for sure. I expect to see a lot of that, man. I think that I agree with you. They're not going to use all 10 picks, but between the draft and the undrafted guys, there's going to be 15, 16 guys coming in competing for roster spots here, man. And if 7 or 8 of them make the squad, that's good enough for me. But, part of that is infusing some youth there. But you just named a couple of guys that I agree would be good, whether they end up here or whether they go somewhere else. I think they are the ones that people go, wow, how did these guys not get drafted? And these guys, you have that every year, but.
Well, yeah, and last year, one of the great examples of that is Andrew Norwell. Who started at guard for Ohio State for 2 years and didn't get invited to the Combine last year. I couldn't believe it. He was all Big Ten preseason last year, his senior year, 2013 I'm talking about. Goes through the whole year. He makes all Big Ten, and somehow he's not even invited to the Combine. Carolina signs him as an undrafted free agent. He starts at left guard for them for 16 games last year, and makes the all-rookie team. And, how a guy like that just sort of flies under the radar. And it's not like he had lax size. Kid was like 6'6", 315, huge man playing guard. And, somehow just sneaked in there. Carolina was smarter than the other teams and signed him, and he ended up being the starter for him. Same, Jack Muhort wasn't drafted all that high either, and he ended up being a starter for the Colts all year. So the other guy that is sort of a sleeper, and we saw him against Alabama, he might have been the MVP of the Alabama game, and that's Evan Spencer. First of all, he's just a versatile kid. He's the guy that recovered that onside kick against Alabama. He made a key block. He put Landon Collins out of the game with a couple of blocks. Great downfield blocker, great hands, average to slightly above average speed, but just a football player. Obviously, he's got the genetic background. He's Tim Spencer's kid. He played in the USFL and the NFL for many years from Massillon. And Evan Spencer is going to end up on somebody's roster too. Bill Belichick, a couple of years ago, drafted a kid who was a special teams player at Ohio State, who's a rugby player who's still on his roster. And, so he's the kind of guy that, somebody's going to realize that Evan Spencer is a guy that's on special teams, kick returns, slot receiver, a guy who's going to just do a lot of things for you and be smart, and is going to end up playing in this league somewhere. So he's another sleeper that probably won't get drafted, but some smart team's going to pick him up.
Those are all things that the Browns need that you listed there. I know there's Browns fans out there hating us right now going, how dare you wish all those Buckeyes on the Browns? Because I know there's some guys that are just not, and I get it, because a lot of them don't work out. I know what you're saying. People keep going, Brian Robisky, I got you, man. But, that's
well, those are people, Jerry, those are people that, maybe don't quite go back far enough to Jim Parker, Dick Shackbreath, Tom DeLeon, Paul Warfield. There's a great, Bill Willis. There's a great history of Ohio State Buckeyes and Cleveland Browns hooking up together. Lou Groza comes to mind. So, there's a few there that prove the Buckeyes can work out for Cleveland Browns. The last couple we've drafted, obviously, Robisky and way back. I think the team's only drafted two since the new Browns. So the other being Darnell Sanders, kind of an obscure tight end from a few years ago. But now they picked up Whitner and signed Hartline. So there's a little bit of scarlet and gray here in Cleveland, and they've got so much talent on the roster that. The Browns thinking that some Buckeyes couldn't help them, they got to be kidding themselves.
Oh, they'd be nuts. And I mean, what is it? The Buckeyes, USC, and who's the third one that are the three?
I think Miami maybe, or
they're the most
maybe Florida State.
Yeah, most NFL players. Obviously top two there. You got the Buckeyes, you got USC. So sorry, Browns fans that don't like Buckeyes. Yeah, some of them can play some ball, and I'll take those guys here any day. Dan Wismar. Oh, by the way, as you and I were talking, I don't know if you've seen it because you've been talking to me, but the Indians made a roster move here. As we were talking, they dropped Jerry Sands, promoted Ryan Webb, who they just signed a couple of weeks ago. They've brought him up from Columbus. The right-hander in the bullpen comes up, joins the Indians. Jerry Sands designated for assignment. I guess we'll see what happens with him if he heads down to AAA. But Webb was just signed April 13th. So, it's been like 2 weeks that he's been here. Remember, he was with the with the Dodgers and the Orioles, a couple teams over spring training, but he's been in Columbus. He's pitched 8 innings. He's got a 1-1 record, but he's limited right-handers to a .56 batting average, so he's shown some good bullpen effectiveness there. Obviously, the Indians know they need to do something, so there could be the first of a few moves that they make.
Yeah, sounds good. Certainly right-handed bullpen help is something we've been missing. And Sean and Atchison have both been kind of ineffective, and that's setting Cody Allen aside altogether since there's no replacement for him in sight. But good. Welcome any move like that helps your bullpen from the right hand side.
Yeah, the last couple of seasons, too. And you know how mostly, if you look at his career goes this way. Most bullpen guys have a good year, bad year. They go up and down. 2 years ago for Miami, he had a good year. He held opponents to a .244 batting average, had a 2.9 ERA with 80 innings out of the pen. Last year, he got hurt halfway through, but was on his way to a similar season as well there. So hopefully this is another one that the Indians have identified. I know Webb is a guy that several teams were looking at, and the Indians have been interested in him for about a year or two, making a trade. They were able to pick him up here, so who knows? But there's a little bit of new blood in the pen here, probably in time for tonight's game. We'll see if he gets a chance to play. But I'm interested in seeing him because I know I've read a lot of good things about, when healthy, the skill set that Webb has.
Yeah, and again, I don't know a thing about him, Jerry, whether he's a junk baller, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball guy. But if he's been effective in Columbus, he'd be worth a shot because we're running some guys out there.
Nobody's been effective in Cleveland, so if he can be effective in Columbus, we're all for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, at least we're willing to run up the flagpole and see if anybody salutes.
Absolutely, and man, we'll see tonight. What is it? 6:10. Here we go. Third of three early games for the Indians. Safe to say that experiment with the results has not yielded exactly perhaps what the Indians hoped for, but we'll see. We've got a good one. Salazar and Yordano Ventura going at it tonight. Should be an interesting one. Let's see if they can salvage the third game of this series before Toronto comes to town.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll be down there tomorrow night for that first Toronto game, and so I'll try to bring home a W for us then. But yeah, in the meantime, I'll check in with you. I'll probably text you tomorrow night after we see what crazy moves the Browns make, and I'm sure we'll be in touch and we can sort out the entire draft when we get together on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, if you want me to take back any good feelings about Ryan Webb, I'm going to hurt you with this one. His biggest comparison on BaseballReference.com. Scott Atchison. So there you go, man. Hey, Scott Atchison was good 30 years ago, man. Come on. No, I'm kidding. He's the old man out there. Hey, you know what? Another one he's compared to? Tim Cruz, of course, rest in peace. But there's a couple of names in Indians history there that he's good. But there you go. I saw Scott Atchison at the top of the list. I said, I got to drop that on Dan before we go. All right, Dan, enjoy the game tomorrow, the draft. We'll talk on Monday. We will have a ton. We'll be on game one of the conference semifinals. We'll have a whole weekend of Tribe. We'll have a whole draft to talk about. Man, you and I got a lot to do Monday.
All right, well, we'll get after it. Thanks for having me, Jerry. See ya.
You got it. Dan Wismar, my man, from the Cleveland Fan, from EverybodyHatesCleveland.com. We're going to take our final break of the day, come back and get you ready, wrap things up for the day. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Final segment of the Sports Fix coming up next.
The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Intelligent talk.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
These guys must be on the wrong station.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get them away!
Hey, boo!
The Sports Fix.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
It's the Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com.
What's your fantasy say?
No football? No problem at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. From their awesome Wing Mondays to every single Cavaliers and Buckeye Hoops games in full HD, the excitement never stops. Every day of the week brings a different set of food and amazing drink specials. Fight fans, Harry Buffalo North Olmsted is the home for every UFC pay-per-view live on the big screens. And let's not forget their mouth-watering trademark, the Bison Burger. Nobody does bison like Harry Buffalo. The perfect combination of healthy and delicious. What are you waiting for? Get to Harry Buffalo, just outside Great Northern Mall today. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd. The Sports Fix is now available every day on the world's largest internet radio service, iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeartRadio app, subscribe to the show, and get your fix.
Hey, everybody. Listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey, guys. Listen up. No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date. No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
End the violence. Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Hey, you guys are rocking with Reggie Germany, former wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills and Ohio State Buckeye. You're rocking with the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix final segment as we wrap things up here and get you sent off into the rest of your day and head towards tomorrow. You guys, J-Rocc back with you here, and we get moving. Jon Jones, by the way. Hey, keep the conversation going. 216-539-7535 all night long. Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixCLE. And Jon Jones, as I said yesterday on the show, I mean, I was like, hey, man, sometimes I sound like I actually know what I'm doing here. He was stripped of his light heavyweight title yesterday, suspended indefinitely by the UFC, and they've set up an interim title match here to replace the championship at the upcoming pay-per-view. Jones was pulled. He was set to defend the title at the UFC 187 coming up just about a month from now in Vegas. He was going to defend against Anthony Johnson. Now Johnson will face Daniel Cormier, and that's the guy who had the last challenge for Jones and fell short. Those two are going to battle for the vacant light heavyweight title. Jones has been suspended indefinitely, stripped of the title, off of the next pay-per-view. The new fight, replacement fight for the light heavyweight title, Anthony Johnson, Daniel Cormier, coming up at the MGM Grand Arena. On top of that, it goes from bad to worse. He's got legal charges. He lost his title. He's been suspended from his UFC contract. And now, on top of all that, Jon Jones' contract from Reebok was terminated. His endorsement contract was terminated yesterday in a quick release, effective immediately as well. 6 months ago? Not that, was it 6 months ago? He had the deal with Nike that was canceled that led to him going to Reebok. Reebok has terminated his endorsement contract right off the bat, and that was one of the new deals that had come through with UFC and their looking to, and their promotion of the champions and some extra endorsement money there. It goes from bad to worse. Jon Jones has a lot more to do coming ahead with this, as he first court appearance was let loose without a plea. He's got to deal with that, as he's got the collision where he hit the pregnant woman. She not only was she injured, broken arm, but reports of fleeing the scene, coming back, grabbing things out of the vehicle. Like I told you, I've got reports from people deep in UFC circles that there's more that has not, and I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny, but there's more that has not been said about this as well. But no matter what, as it stands, there's a lot to deal with there. And Jon Jones, he just said, he tweeted out this morning, last night, a lot of soul searching to do. He's let everybody down, and as I said, there's a lot of things there. And don't forget, I mean, just coming just off the heels of him with the problem with the drug test and the drug failure, and remember he went to rehab for a day, and then you know how bad the Cleveland media would have done if Johnny Manziel went to rehab for a day. Bones Jones does it, and everybody just moves on to the next story. Man, it's just funny how when people lock in on something, man, they got it, and then when they don't, a lot of things fly under the radar. And then when those things stop flying under the radar, people lose their hair. It's on fire, and they go, how did we not know about this? How did people? You knew. People just didn't pay attention. Life is full of things that people knew and just chose not to pay attention to. All right, guys. Hey, a lot of people choosing not to pay attention to the Indians. I'm going to try here to give you a reason why you should, and here's why. Because tonight, they're bringing to the dance, Kansas City, the guy who's lit up every other team, and I don't mean it in a good way for Kansas City. 4 straight times now, Yordano Ventura has gotten in the other team's skin. He's caused brawls. He's caused ejections. He's caused a lot of situations. And maybe he can be that spark that lights up the Indians tonight and gets their blood boiling. Maybe, who knows? But it's been other than that, it's a bad night for the Indians because Ventura owns the Tribe. His last 5 meetings against us, he's got a 1.57 ERA. Last 2 starts at Progressive Field, he's 2-0 with a .59 ERA. Brantley does well against Ventura. Santana does well against Ventura. The Tribe looking to salvage Game 3 of this series here before they turn things around and start to look at the Toronto Blue Jays coming up. Can they do it? I was joking about lighting it up, but not really. He's done that 4 straight appearances now. Ventura has had a run here, firing up the other team, and the Indians could use anything to fire them up here tonight. 6:10 first pitch, and the Indians take on the Kansas City Royals. Danny Salazar, 2-0, 2.08 ERA on the early season. Ventura, 2-1, 4.09 ERA on the other side of the hill. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Oh, man. Mike Brandenberry, I don't even know what kind of mood he's going to be in from didthetribewinlastnight.com, because for too many nights, the answer to that question is no. We're going to have Mike join us here tomorrow. We'll talk Tribe. We'll talk Cavs. John McMullen of the Sports Network will be live with us with his live final mock draft. What he thinks the Browns are going to do will be just hours before round 1 of the NFL draft. John McMullen's with us. Dan Wismar will be in the house. Who knows what's going on, what else we're going to squeeze in, and so much more. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to go to the phone lines. I've got time to take another phone call. I'm going to give you a chance to wrap things up here on the Sports Fix. Caller, you're up.
Sales call.
Well, never mind then. Apparently you're not up. I'm going to wrap things up then. Here's a sales call for you. I don't know. The hotline's ringing. I answer them hot here. So there you go. As we wrap it up tomorrow, I want to thank, first off, Dan Wismar for joining us here today. The callers earlier on in the show, you guys keeping the conversation going. So many of you, whether you're on the phone lines, whether you're on Facebook and Twitter here, keeping the tweets flying, my man Ron Graham, whether you're over here hitting us up in the Mixler chat room. Thank you guys so much for being with us. Tomorrow, we've got John McMullen, we've got Mike Brandenberry, we've got you and me, and what else do we need? We'll have some fun. We'll get you ready for the draft. We'll look ahead to the Toronto Blue Jays and more. Let's hope the Indians can salvage this one here tonight. Ventura and Salazar, 6:10. As I said, we'll talk about it tomorrow, guys. Hey, let's call it a day. You guys have a great evening this evening, and we will do the thing tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel, live at noon, right here across the Sports Fix Radio Network. We love you, Cleveland, and beyond, wherever you're at, man. I love you, baby. We'll see you tomorrow, right here on the Sports Fix.
Where they do not play much. Clouds always looming, we don't see the sun rays much. Still about the paper, gotta make sure the lights on. There's no mistake on the lake to you, but this is my own. Tatted it on my arm, that I represent that. Homie, I'm from Cleveland, I will tell the president that. Hardest, yeah, we been there. Made some of the greats here. Midwest best, this is MGK's, yeah. Shouts out to St. Clair, Uptown, yes, y'all. Heading to the flats, get it popping up with Steph Flaws. Old State Monster, this the home of King James. We are not the empire, but this is where the kings play. Cleveland, let's go.
city. Blue lights separate the grind from the gritty. Red sick fitted, hood pass cover any city that we visit. Winnie up from Cleveland. Survivals are must on these streets. We hustle, don't sleep. Out here in Cleveland, Cleveland, Cleveland.
Okay, now here we go. Welcome to the Cleveland Show.